Based on the discussion with Mr. Karthik, Mr. Shashank and Mr. Importer, we have learned that interest rate is inversely related to planned investment spending from firms and consumers and net exports. Let us go back to the Keynes cross diagram. The three levels of planned investment spending and net exports in panels A and B are represented in the three aggregate demand functions in the Keynesian cross diagram of panel C. So, we can say that the lowest interest rate, I1, has the highest level of both planned investment spending, I1, and net exports, NX1, in panel A and panel B, and hence the highest aggregate demand function, Y1AD, in panel C. Similarly, points 2 and 3 are taken from planned investment and net exports at their corresponding interest rate levels. These are equilibrium points where the aggregate demand is equal to the aggregate output. So, we have seen in panel C that as the interest rate increase from I1 to I2 to I3, the equilibrium aggregate demand decreases from Y1 to Y2 to Y3. These points are directly mapped in another graph or panel D. Point 1 shows the resulting equilibrium level of output Y1 of panel C, which corresponds to interest rate I1 here in panel D. As the interest rate rises to I2 in panel A and B, both planned investment spending and net exports fall to I2 and NX2, so equilibrium output falls to Y2 in panel C. Here, point 2 shows the lower level of output Y2, which corresponds to interest rate I2. Finally, the highest interest rate I3 in panel A and B leads to the lowest level of planned investment spending and net exports, and hence the lowest level of equilibrium output in panel C, which is plotted as point 3. The line connecting the 3 points is called as IS curve. It shows the combinations of interest rate and equilibrium aggregate output, for which aggregate output produced equals aggregate demand. The negative slope in panel A and B indicates that higher interest rate result in lower planned investment spending and net exports, and hence lower equilibrium output in panel D. The IS curve traces out the points at which the total quantity of goods produced equals the total quantity of goods demanded at different interest rates. It describes points at which the goods market is in equilibrium at different interest rates. Said another way, for each given level of the interest rate, the IS curve tells us what aggregate output must be for the goods market to be in equilibrium. As the interest rate rises, planned investment spending and net exports fall, which in turn lowers aggregate demand. Aggregate output must be lower in order for it to equal aggregate demand and satisfy goods market equilibrium. A little tough to grasp. Let's delve deeper.